Jim Bob, and welcome to another episode of American Midwest. You can see we have our equipment lined up here. Our combine is ready to go, so we're immediately going to get this guy kick-started and running away on the field. We have a great demand for corn. As you can see, the price was $10.55 when it started, and it's just been falling steadily ever since then. We're down to $10.38, and that price is going to continue to fall, so we need to sell this as quickly as possible. However, as you can see, it is here at the railroad mill where the great demand is for, which means we need to deliver this by train. Now, the train is currently located down here at this particular loading point. So that means the train has to come up this way, up along here, along this way, down here, along here, up and around to there. It is actually the quickest of the grain elevators that we could potentially use, apart from this one. We could, in theory, take the grain to that elevator, but it's going to be quicker for us to actually deliver it, I think, down here than it would be to deliver it up there. Actually, I'm not too sure. I think let's move the train to the other grain elevator. I think it would be a little bit quicker in terms of actual delivery to that drop-off point, and obviously it'll be less distance for our train to travel as well. So we'll ride first person in the train here as we make our way through. There you can see the remainder of the wheat that we have left over on the field from our previous episode when we harvested and gathered a lot of that straw. That straw is all going to get baled up, and then most of that straw, I think we'll probably grab a little bit more and take that up to the top of the animal dairy farm as well. I did think about parking the train here, but unfortunately we can't tip into the grain cars. We can tip into the beet car, although that does look a little bit wrong to have grain in the cars for beets. I'd rather do it the proper way. So we'll take this to an actual grain elevator, which is just over there. You can see it there, that blue building with the silos. That's our destination. We'll drop our grain in just there, and then once we have it in the train, we'll then be able to deliver it all the way round to the train grain mill, which is on the opposite side of the map. There you can see our farm as well, our dairy farm, all our animals. We're about to cut straight through there. As I said in a previous video, it's kind of a shame that we don't actually have the ability to deliver grain to this farm directly. Although, having said that, this grain elevator we're going to isn't too far away, so we could always transfer grain that way if we wanted to do it in large quantities. But given how close the dairy farm is to the main farm, it's easier to just run it straight up the main road in a lorry with an articulated trailer. So as we swing around the corner, it's time to slow down. These trains do take quite a long time to actually slow down due to the sheer weight of them. There we go. Actually, this might just be a sell point. I might have just messed up here. Let's quickly check the combine. That's going to need unloading in a second. We've already missed the opportunity to unload it on that pass. So let's get there and head it off on the other end of the field. There's the 80% warning. Now, if we've done 2.5 passes, we should be okay, I hope, to get to the end of the field before it needs an unload. Let's skip back to the train a second. Let's just jump out. Can I actually tip grain in just here? Or is this just a sell point? I think this might be just a sell point. It is. Ah, that's a shame. Alright, in that case we are going to have to send the train back around on a different loop. I should have left it where it was, really. In that case, we may as well take the train to the grain elevator that is just there instead, I think. Just means we'll have to run it further. First things first, let's at least unload this combine. We can dump this straight into the trailer. It looks like we might have just missed the edge of that field. You can see there's that yellow hue just on the left hand side there, which suggests that we may have missed a line of corn right on the edge there. I wonder if that's going to be behind us as well. Yes, it is. So that's something we'll look at the end. And of course, I need to be wary of not putting too much onto the train. We need quite a big chunk of this corn for our pigs. Although with its great demand, as long as we have something for the pigs to keep us going, there's no reason why we can't immediately do another corn harvest, which I think is probably going to be what we'll end up doing. So as long as we have enough for our pigs, and by enough I'm thinking at least one trailer full, that'll last us for a few days, I would imagine. And from that point there, everything else can then go straight into the train for sale. I have absolutely no idea what kind of yield we're going to get in total off this field. Hopefully it's going to be quite a nice large amount, but we'll see. So let's get this first load into the trailer, like so. And while that's doing that, we need to move this train again. So where can we put this train? I could back it up. If I run it around, let's pull up the map to do this. If I run it down here, then we know it's going to run to the railroad mill. From there, it's going to loop back around and go to there. So actually, yeah, we could do that, and then we could just reverse the train back to the railroad mill. It's not ideal, but it'll do. So yeah, let's do that. There is the mill that we need to sell the grain at. We're just kind of whizzing our way straight through there. Now as we pass by the sawmill, actually there's a grain drop-off point just here, isn't there? Okay, so we have a new location where we can actually take the grain to, which is actually going to save us a bit of hassle, a bit of trouble. As long as we can get this train stopped. There we go, at that grain car. That gives us something to work with. So where's the combine? On its way back again. So let's meet that at the end of the field. And let's just see just how much the price has dropped already. Now we're down to 10.18, so we've already lost $20 off the grain price in the time that it's taken us to do those few passes. We desperately need to get this done, so I'm thinking instead of sending to the pigs first, we'll do a load for the train and we'll sell that, and from there Well, then whatever we've got left we'll take up to feed our pigs. They do have that little bit of corn that keeps getting spat out. As you can see, we're up to 31 litres just there at the moment, so they are producing a little bit of corn as the byproduct from that food trough. Oops. So there we go with another unload. This will give us around about half a trailer in that truck. You know, we have a 65 and a bit thousand litre capacity. The first one we dipped in was a little under 16,000. This one will be about the same. So we'll be looking at around 32,000, which is half the capacity of that truck. Once that truck gets full, we're going to whiz that straight over to the storage point up by the sawmill, and then from there we can literally just back the train around the corner once we have enough grain. The price is going to dip below 1,000 by the time we get there and actually start tipping, but it's still going to be higher than the money that we can get anywhere else, and I kind of want to take advantage of this great demand for two reasons. One, this is our fourth great demand, I think, and we haven't been able to do one yet because they've all come too early. This one came almost at the right time, just a fraction early, but it's still serviceable, still workable. And also, it's the train. We get to actually sell something via the train, which I didn't think would happen for quite some time unless we just manually decided to sell something. So for us to get a great demand at the train so soon, it means I kind of have to go for it, really. It'd be wrong not to. So there we go, there's the grain going in for another trip onto our truck. Let's see what our truck capacity is looking like. There we go, 31,500. So still plenty of grain needed to fill that up. Another 2 unloads. I think what I'll do while I'm waiting is I'll actually take that grain and go and sell it now, or at least dump it now. So let's do that. Where is the truck? Let's take this up to that sell point and go and deposit it. Just got to try and figure out what's going to be the quickest route. It is kind of a shame that we can't use that sell point there. It is a little bit too far, really. It would have been great to be able to just deliver it straight there, but because we have this great demand, the price should be okay. So it's not ideal selling in batches like this, but it's better than not selling, I suppose. I have got a pathway across here that I can take. It's dirt road for the beet elevator, or the root crop elevator. Which sell point is this? Is this John Dee's? David Brown's rail loaders. So we need to kind of bump over this. I don't think we'll come this way next time, but it will bring us out right near where we need to be. There we go, that's our entry point there. So let's jump out of the truck, let's go open up this gate. Should check for traffic before I pull that, really, but never mind. And let's tip in this. The great thing about this trailer, obviously, is the fact that it uses that kind of belt system to unload, so the trailer doesn't tip. It means that we don't have any height issues, as you can see. You know, although we have got a fair bit of room, some of these trailers do tip very, very high, so they would catch those beams. This one, no such issues. So let's jump into the train. Load up that grain and give it a quick sell. See the grain going in there. And now we'll back the train around the corner. And let's see just what kind of price we're going to get. What's the menu saying that we're at the moment? See, already it's dropped another 12. Or another couple of... no, just I think another 2. Oh, we've gone too far. Slow down, slow down, slow down. You see, the train takes a long time to stop. It's such a big, heavy piece of machinery. But let's take advantage of the price being what it is right now. There you can see the money going up. We made 31,500 from that there, so that's about right at about 1,000 litres, or $1,000 per 1,000 litres. I need to start this up. There we go. Where is our... there. A little bit close, I think. Oh, there we go, that's pretty much spot on. So now we just need to hold this line across the field. See our grain filling up into the auger there. Whereabouts are we on the field? We're about a third of the way across. So if we do another 30,000 litres or so of grain, that'll help recoup some of the money that we spent. Maybe even pay off some of our loan. It then opens up some extra possibilities for us with stuff that we want to buy. I do want to look at getting another Joskin Q-liner, but this one as a slurry transport trailer. Just think it would make things a little bit quicker and easier when it comes to actually filling up our slurry pits that we have at the farm, because only one of the 2 modules that we have can actually unload at the moment, and that is the 19,500 litre trailer that we pull, you know, little container that we pulled behind this Terra variant. So just being able to unload just that one once, you know, every trip, it's going to take an awful long time for us to actually fill anything. It's going to take an eternity to fill one of those 100,000 litre units, and we can't use the storage module that goes onto the onto the back of the Terra variant, because that only holds. It can't unload, it can't offload. It's literally there as a storage tank for whatever's connected to it. So that becomes useless when it comes to transporting. And the cubic liner will actually hold 32,000 litres of slurry, and we'll be able to transport with that, just in the same way that we can hold 32,000 litres in our water version of that transport trailer. So to have a slurry version of one of those, I think would be quite useful. There we go, we're parked up. Actually, which one are we parked up over? Not entirely sure. Let's just make sure we're in a good position. It's easier to actually see exactly what it is we're doing. So we'll go with the front container, I think. There we go. Now we can actually see exactly where we are under the pipe. So we need to get the truck back round here, ready for another unload. So I'm going to bring this back to the field, and I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, so we have our second trailer of around about 31,000 litres. And this is going to be the last one that we sell, because the price is dropping all the time. We're under $1,000 per 1,000 litres now. So there isn't much point waiting out a third sale. Plus we're also running out of corn on the field, and we do need quite a decent chunk for our pigs. So this will be the last load that we sell, but this will net us another 30,000 or so, maybe a fraction under. But that's a nice little cash boost that we weren't expecting when we started, our round of harvesting a couple of episodes ago. The plan was to basically store a little bit into our silos and send a load up to our animals, and that was pretty much it. As it turns out, we're going to make a good $60,000 in the process, thanks to selling via the train. As we go past the sawmill, we need to think about doing some logging at some point in the future. I'm going to have to create a forest, I think, like I did on Big Bud Farm, because I don't think the in-game forestry option is really all that exciting. It's just a really kind of very small, very awkward area to work in. Maybe we could perhaps redevelop it a little bit. I'll think about that for a future episode. One other thing I would potentially consider doing as well is adding in the ability to do some poplar. We haven't done poplar yet on our channel, so maybe we could do a little bit of poplar farming this time out. Alright, while that's unloading, so again we're going to nip to the train, jump in, start unloading that corn. There we go. So let's go sell this second container's worth of corn. And while the train is backing around the corner, let's take a quick look at the price. $984, so it's dropped another $10 since I last checked it. You can see it's falling all the time. This happens with some great demands. They start off ridiculously high and just immediately start to drop and drop and drop and drop and keep going until they bottom out at a much lower price. You know, we've done reasonably well out of this, I think, to get 60,000 litres sold at a very strong price. Anything less than that, and I think we're going to start to kind of just waste our time a little bit. So there we go, another 30,651 litres. That's not too bad at all. So let's reposition the train. And this time we're going to store it at the grain elevator near the farm, I think. And we'll leave it parked up just there. Although, given the size of it, that may be problematic. It may be easier to just leave it up here. You know what, I think I will do that. I think I'll just leave it up here for now, where it's out of the way. It's not going to get in the way of any roads. And hopefully it won't bring the barriers down as well. So just there. That should do the trick. The barriers are still up, that's good. Nearly got a full grain tank again. And this time we're going to be taking to our animals. I'm going to use this one so that we can dump this straight into our animal trough. You see, we don't have a huge amount of the field left. Got maybe a third of the field to go, if that. Yeah, about a third of the field left by the look of the mini-map there. Let's set cruise control to 6 miles an hour. There we go. This one's going to be a little bit tougher to judge, I think. Oh, look at that shaking again. I was going to use the quad track for this, wasn't I? We do have that very small grain window there that we can just about see what's going in the back, but it is kind of obscured a little bit. This is much harder to do looking out the back window and keeping a straight line. Kind of watching the head. Okay, so we're in. I need to make sure we're going straight now. That looks to be pretty good. Violent shaking. Yeah, this trailer is, I think, just a little bit too big for this Optum. I don't know, maybe it's the trailer itself. We'll switch over to the quad track and we'll see if it shakes with the quad track as well. And if it does, then we'll sell this trailer off and we'll replace it with something a little bit different. So let's peel off. Oh, I need to tag it all the way to the end of the field just to make sure that we will make the full 3 passes. Let's quickly tag it before it turns. There we go, that's pretty much it. You can see even out on exterior view, you can see the trailer just wobbling a bit. Look at that, just shaking like crazy. So let's detach that. Let's go clean the Optum and put this away, and then we'll break the quad track out and see how the quad track handles the big body trailer. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better. Get this nice and cleaned off. It's amazing how quickly these things can get filthy. There we go. So there is our quad track parked up in the shed. Let's drop the Optimum next to it. In its kind of assigned little bay just there. And off we go. I tell you what, it's so nice to be kind of back in equipment that is of a much higher, visual quality. As you know, I asked Tedesco for a copy of Real Farm. They did send me a copy. The copy they sent me was actually for the American store, and being someone in the UK, I couldn't initially access that, so I had to create an American PSN account just to be able to download my copy of Real Farm. I have play tested it and I have reviewed it. It's not a bad game, but it's not a fantastic game either. There are a lot of bugs with it, a lot of issues with it. Visually and audibly, it's just not on the same level as Farming Simulator, and that's kind of expected. I mean, this is a franchise that's been running since, what, 2008? So 10 years nearly this game has been running. It's had a lot of time and a lot of versions to steadily improve from its humble beginnings and put right all those things that kept going wrong when it first started, and it's just got bigger and better since it's progressed. And Real Farm is kind of at that stage where Farming Simulator was 10 years ago. It's just starting out. It's not got licensed equipment. The visuals aren't too bad, but they're not amazing. Certainly not on the interior. They're just not up to this kind of standard here. I mean, look at how clean and crisp and professional everything in here looks. How sharp everything is detail-wise, and there's just none of this on the interiors of the vehicles for Real Farm. It's a shame, but it's it's understandable. It's their first attempt. If they can keep the general interest there and keep improving upon the game, this first one I think is going to be a big flop. I can't see it being a commercial success for them, given where it's at right now and the amount of money they're charging for it. I just can't see it being a commercial success. But if they can keep persisting with the franchise and they keep it going and release better versions over the years, then Pure Farming has the potential to do very well indeed. Maybe potentially even one day rival Farming Simulator. I mean, that's very hypothetical. It's way off in the distance. If you haven't seen my review of Pure Farming yet, I will pop it up in the corner just here. Ping. And you will also be able to see it at the end of the video as well. I'll link it. Plus, it should auto-suggest that as the next video to watch as well. I do recommend you check it out, at least so you can see what the game is like. The video is around about 6.5 minutes long or so. I try to cover everything as fairly as I can. As I say, I did get the game for free from Tedesco, but it hasn't influenced my review in the slightest. I approached it very objectively, and I think very fairly as well. A lot of people have just been immediately dismissive and overly critical of the game, and yes, it has its faults, and yes, it has its bugs, and no, it's not as pretty as Farming Simulator, and no, it doesn't have licensed equipment, but it's a starting attempt. It's a first go, a first crack at making a farming game. That needs to be taken into consideration. You can't just compare it immediately against Giants' hugely successful and long-established Farming Sim franchise and do a straight comparison without taking some things into account. And a lot of people, I don't think, have been, overly fair with the game. But as I did say in my review, it's not a bad effort, but it's not a game I can recommend given its current price point. But like I say, check out the review, let me know what you think. I do still have that copy, so if you are interested in seeing a Let's Play, then do let me know in the comments section. and that is something I will definitely consider doing for you guys. So you can see more than just a few minutes of review footage. You can actually see the game running on 30 to 50 minute episodes. Oh, this is much smoother, isn't it? You can see there's no real nasty vibrations and shaking. The trailer is wobbling a little bit, as you can see, but our tractor is not getting shaken to pieces like the Optum was. So maybe this trailer has received a reprieve for now. Like I said, I was considering getting rid of this trailer and replacing it with something a little different, but we haven't used this trailer yet, and like I said, I want to try and shake things up. I have become overly reliant on using those Black Sheep modded trailers that hold 70,000 litres each. I don't want those anywhere near this farm, simply because I don't want to keep using the same stuff over and over again. I want there to be a little bit of variety in the equipment that we use, so that every series has something a little bit different. And so far this trailer has been a little bit problematic, but it seems to work quite well with the quad track, so I think we'll stick with it for a little bit longer. What's the capacity on this thing? I think it's around about 46,900 if memory serves me correct. Let's just check that in the store actually. What is the capacity of the big body? 46,900, yes, there we go. So we can wait for one more unload and then we'll run that up to the farm. We're not going to need the truck anymore, so we're going to put that away at our storage depot just down the road. It says 25 mile an hour speed limit, but we're going to break that because we're rebels. So just to give you an idea where we are actually situated on the map, this is the small bunkers. There is the shop just over there, the other side of those bunkers. And these are our two canola fields, which are still growing. They're at stage 2 growth at the moment, so there's another stage to go before they'll be ready to harvest. And here's our BGA plant. We need to think about maybe starting a silage bunker in our BGA plant at some point in the not too distant future. And there, just in the distance, you can see coming up on the left, that is our storage area. It's just the other side of the railroad track crossings. That's coming up. And this is where we're going to store our truck. And our beet sell point slash storage point. There it is. Actually, one other thing I was thinking about doing as well was putting a conveyor belt in just here. But a long conveyor belt, because I think this could actually be quite a useful sell point, or a useful transfer point for when we want to perhaps sell some beets via the train. So in theory what we could do is we could put a conveyor belt in here that stretches out over here, and then we could pull a train up behind the here, and we could literally just take from there back into here and tip onto the ground and load via a conveyor belt onto the train just here, and then go off and sell our beets via the railroad. So that's something that we could consider doing. I think that would work quite well. Now, we also don't need our Terra variant, so we're going to go and put this away as well. Give it a good clean first. This has actually worked quite hard for us over the last couple of episodes. What with unloading all of our beets and then unloading our wheat as well. And also the first part of the corn. So this has actually worked really hard for us over the last couple of episodes, including this one as well. So I'm quite pleased with just how much use we're getting out of this thing at the moment. Of course, we're going to use this, as we have already used it in the past, for cultivating and slurry spreading as well. And once we have enough solid manure, we'll be using it for that as well. So going to get an awful lot of use out of our Terra variant here, which is great. I mean, it's all well and good having equipment that is, you know, amazing, but only has a very limited use. Especially when it's big, expensive stuff like this. It looks fantastic and it's great to use, but when you're only using it once in a blue moon, especially when you're starting a farm out, it's just an expense that's just not justifiable. But this is more than justifying the amount of you know, having it so far, with the amount of use that it's already racked up. We've already racked up, as you can see, what, over 6 hours worth of use? And it's cost us a lot with not just this, but the grain tank that goes with it, and the beet tank there. I mean, that was, as I said, 68,000 or so. That was quite expensive. The slurry tank as well. The manure tank, which we haven't used yet, but it's all going to get used right from day one. Which is something that can't necessarily be said of something like buying a Terra DOS, something we would only use once in a blue moon whenever we're doing a beet harvest, and never any other time. And that would be just as expensive, if not more so. It appears I wasn't paying enough attention to the fill level of our combine. It has stopped. That's not so good. You can see we've got much more room. Looking out the back window, though, we can see exactly what's going on this time around. So we'll just do a little unload to get the combine started again. There it goes. And now we'll run along until this trailer fills up, or we reach the end of the field. And I think it'll be when this trailer fills up. That'll happen just a little bit before. There's hardly anything left of this field. Really not much left to go on that at all. And the quad tractors look kind of majestic, doesn't it? Such a great tractor. I use this all the time in Farming Sim 15, but I've been quite sparing in its use on Farming Sim 17. Tending to go for the kind of mid-sized tractors, not these large monstrosities. Until Big Bud, we didn't really need to use these tractors, because they were so hugely powerful for the equipment that we had, that there were very few instances where we actually physically needed a tractor with this much power. So they just didn't get used, or at least not by me anyway. I mean, I know there are, you know, people out there that absolutely swear by the big stuff and use it at every opportunity, but for me, I just never got round to really using them that much. So it's great to actually have these great big monsters breaking out again. Right, so with this trailer that's almost entirely full, we're going to run this up to our dairy farm, park up by the pigs, tip this in and see how much of it goes into actually filling up the food trough, and then the rest, plus that last little bit that's left on the field, is going to be stored in the silo up by the animals, so that we have a nice little store of corn. We are going to have to plant another round of corn. You know, this one field just wasn't enough, given that we sold a good half of it via the train. But yeah, we're definitely going to need more. You can see it's wobbling quite a bit. I'm still a little unconvinced as to just how stable this is. I mean, yeah, that's... Our tractor is pretty planted on the ground, but that trailer just... I can see it in the rear mirror. Just looking how much it's wobbling, it does concern me about its stability. So maybe we need to think about replacing that with a different trailer. So the question then becomes, which trailer do we go with? Well, we've got some options. Another trailer I used to use all the time in Farming Sim 15 were those TDK Bulls, the 32,000 litre trailers. They used to use those all the time because they were the only trailers in 15, at least for console users. They were the only decent sized trailer that we had that could be joined together with another trailer. So that was our grain train. You know, now we have a trailer that can hold more than two of those combined with the Black Sheep trailer. But back in Farming Sim 15, if we wanted to do a big grain harvest, we needed to use those trailers an awful lot. Especially when you're playing on your own, you didn't have, you know, someone in multiplayer to help you out with grain deliveries and grain collection and so on and so forth. Like silage as well. So the standard routine was to run at least two of those trailers back to back. Sometimes even more than that. Maybe I might break out those, because again, they're a trailer that I haven't really used since Farming Sim 15. I've barely used them in 17. I think I used them just for a little bit of nostalgia right at the beginning when they first came out as a mod from Giants, but since then, I don't think I've actually used them on 17, so maybe we take another trip down memory lane and we use those. Right, how much of this is going to go into our food trough? Quite a bit. Just got out of the way of our Lely Juno. Wow, we used about 60% of that trailer, I think. That's quite a bit. So they've got enough corn for the next 6 days. And then we've got another 18,500 litres going into storage, plus whatever's left on the field, which will probably be another maybe 20,000 litres. So we're going to have a week and a half's supply in storage, I think. Maybe a little less than that. It depends how many pigs we have by the time those food troughs run out. I mean, we've only had the pigs in game for a few days, really, and already we've got more than double the number we started with, so I shudder to think how many pigs we're going to end up with by the time those food troughs are empty. An awful lot. That's something else we're going to have to think about buying as well, is a grain tray, is an animal trailer, so we can actually start selling off some of our livestock, you know, some of those pigs, take them to market. If you remember at the start of this field, I felt that maybe we'd potentially left a line of corn on the edge of the field, so we're going to actually test that now and see. Yep, I did, look, there we go. That thin line of corn along the edge of the field. So I'm going to run all the way along the edge here. Just harvest that little bit that we left. It's not going to be a huge amount, but given how many hungry piggies that we have, every little is going to help. You can see our count is going up. We're at 10,300 and climbing. I wonder if we'll hit 400 at this point. At this rate, we might well do. That's 60. That's 70. Yeah, I think we're going to pass 400, so we're going to add probably, I think we've got, what, 20 or so litres at the start when I first turned onto this line, so an extra 120 to 150 litres of corn that we've got just from being a little bit smarter here on the edge. Just a little bit left. There we go. That's not a bad little addition, is it? So let's park this onto the header trailer. This is going to be awkward trying to get this lined up. One thing I do like about the the Holmer trailers is you have that kind of, not so much the Holmer trailer, sorry, the header trailer for the mower, the X-disc mower for the Krona harvesters. They have a little guidance marker which kind of tells you exactly where you are lined up. I think we've actually done a pretty decent job getting that position just there. That's pretty close, I think. Let's back up. Get connected. There we go. And we'll pipe out like this. And there we go, that's the last little bit of grain off this field to go up to storage by our pigs. And then everything else can get put away and we can finish the day off in the next episode by doing that baling and testing out the incinerator. There we go. So that's the end of another episode of American Midwest. I hope you've enjoyed this particular episode here, where we actually got to sell some stuff via the train, made a little bit of money from our great demand, and got another field harvested. Don't forget to check out my review of Real Farm. You'll get a notification to perhaps check it out at the end of this video. I'll also link it in the description for you as well. And if you would like to see a Let's Play on Farming Legend, the new map that just went live, I'll also link the video map tour in the description down below. You can check that out. And let me know if you'd like us to do a Let's Play on that map. So, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I will catch you on another episode of American Midwest very soon.